Why does the more you run from pain, the more it pursues you? Have you ever noticed that when you try to avoid pain, it seems to intensify? You seek distractions, immediate pleasures, try to fill the void, but the pain returns, often stronger. Arthur Schopenhauer, a 19th century German philosopher, had an explanation for this. He believed that pain is not an accident of life, it is the very essence of human existence. The will as a source of suffering. For Schopenhauer, reality is driven by a blind and irrational force he called the will. This will constantly impels us to desire, and it is in this incessant desire that suffering resides. He wrote, "Wanting is essentially suffering, and since living is wanting, all existence is essentially pain." In other words, as long as we are alive, we will be desiring, and as long as we desire, we suffer. The endless cycle of desire. Have you ever achieved something you greatly desired and shortly after felt dissatisfied again? Schopenhauer observed that desire, by its very nature, is pain, while satisfaction soon leads to satiety. The end was merely apparent. This means that satisfaction is temporary, and soon we are thrown back into the cycle of desire and pain. Running from pain is intensifying it. Trying to avoid pain at all costs can paradoxically increase it. By ignoring or repressing suffering, it accumulates and returns with greater force. Schopenhauer suggested that accepting pain as an integral part of life is the first step to dealing with it in a healthier way. In modern society, we are constantly encouraged to seek pleasure and avoid any form of discomfort. However, Schopenhauer argued that all pleasure and all happiness are of negative nature. Pain, on the contrary, is of positive nature. This means that pleasure is only the temporary absence of pain, and not a permanent state. Instead of fighting against pain, Schopenhauer proposed acceptance as a way to achieve serenity. Recognizing that suffering is part of the human condition can help us deal with it better without despairing or seeking illusory solutions. Art and compassion. Schopenhauer saw art as a way to temporarily escape the cycle of desire and pain. Aesthetic contemplation allows us to distance ourselves from the will and find moments of peace and relief. Understanding that everyone suffers can make us more compassionate. Schopenhauer believed that compassion is the basis of morality, for we recognize in others the same suffering we experience. What this means for you. Instead of constantly seeking to avoid pain, perhaps it is more effective to accept it as part of life. This does not mean resignation, but rather a deeper understanding of human nature and a more realistic approach to dealing with suffering. If you identified with these ideas, perhaps it's time to rethink your relationship with pain and desire.